Okay, let's say you really are not too civilized. Humdrum, drip drop. I'm just assuming the worst, which is the job of most anesthesiologists. Therefore, we think ahead at all the bad possibilities so you are not another statistic of complications. I should check the battery and/or the IV bag, but I do not want to think about either one of those things right now. I'm giving myself a mental break. Once you have had a short or long sexual relationship that is suddenly hampered by a serious accident or illness, hey, remember that I'm brain injured, so don't take any of my advice too seriously. A cutoff is naturally bound to occur. I have no continuing medical education, on the subject of sex within a marriage between a man and a woman. I'm no expert in this area. All I have is what you probably have, i.e., experience. Experience and common sense. Maybe you have neither. No, I don't believe that this is so. Experience and common sense. These can go a long way. Humdrum, drip drop. Some people say it is uncommon sense, which tells me that it is not very common. Duh. So just statistically, we are bound to have more brochures available at the TBI group, where you see all the people who are worse off than you. Humdrum, drip drop. People in hard collars around their necks. People who are survivors. Both ends of the spectrum, the old injuries and the new injuries. Neurorehabilitation is a separate subject on its own, but let us get the sex talk over with. As a spouse now, pretend that I am deprived of your company, your companionship, and your affection. Humdrum, drip drop. That little IV thing really gets to be a high maintenance task. And let's say that I really do love you, and this accident has caught us 100% off guard. Humdrum, drip drop. In my opinion, there are two kinds of men here. I know you didn't ask me about my opinion, and you were thinking I would give you lucid details instead. One that will stick with you and be loving, kind, and patient. Two, or one that pretty much abandons you once you have a diagnosis. What I am specifically talking about here, just as common scenario between a man and a wife. I am definitely no expert in this area, but let me just share with you some of my gained wisdom, if you can let me. I really appreciate it. Humdrum, drip drop. This is the problem. All of a sudden you have little to no interest in having sexual intercourse. Let's say that your husband or wife is in a coma, or on a ventilator, or in and out of the hospital, looking like she or he is the walking dead. You are not available, but your spouse still has needs that are not being met, especially our wonderful men. Someone told me once that 99% of all men masturbate, the other 1% lie. I believe that there is a physiological buildup of sperm and sperm fluid that occurs in all men who are deprived of sex. I think it becomes painful to a man over time, and this needs attention. solutions? I'm not the one to ask, because there is very little I can tell you, my not being an expert in the field. Humdrum, drip drop. But the things I have heard, it is perfectly natural and inevitable that your spouse is disabled and his or her sex drive is on the bottom of the list of things she or he will worry about. Not that I need to give you another reason to worry, but men are men. I have spoken very frankly to some men who helped me understand the male mindset better. It actually was a lot worse than I thought. I believe that men think of sex all the time. Humdrum, drip drop. With each passing lady, each line of cleavage, their private part gets hard. Unless he has a general problem with that. In which case, he should ask his PCP about seeing a urologist probably. Now, what a man thinks and what a man does are two different things. One would argue that the Bible says for each spouse to consider that your body belongs to your spouse, not to you. I also believe that most women do not think of sex all the time, certainly not at the par for the men. So many times, women, disabled or not, perform obligatory sexual intercourse perhaps for years during a relationship. Never reach orgasm, do not feel loved outside of the bed. And remember, us girls tend to remember details of things in case you have not noticed. Humdrum, drip drop. If she happens to be the patient in this case, she is not even thinking about sex for sure. In fact, if you mention it, that may make her feel sick. I believe that this happens more often in women that do not usually experience orgasm when they have sexual intercourse. Now, she is thinking of fighting to stay alive. Humdrum, drip drop. Not a good time to approach her for sexual intimacy. She's trying to remember what the doctors are saying and is frustrated at having to undergo speech therapy to learn how to talk again. She is missing you, and if she is a good mother, she is missing her child or children. Humdrum, drip drop. Her children are a particular hardship for her, as her babies all mean so much to her. She has gone from mothering to being a patient that is unable to mother. All in an instant, or all over the course of time. This is a very serious maladjustment that mother needs to make. Humdrum, drip drop. Perhaps it is another book, but she will suffer from her children's rejection of her pale face and IV drips going into those veins. If she cares, she will suffer. Humdrum, drip drop. Men, bear with your ladies in these times, hey? Things are very hard for her, and now you have to do not only your job, but you are suddenly thrust into the role of being a single parent. Working as usual, but assessing such details as to what to have for dinner, how to get the child to school, how to please his wife and offer sympathy when he thinks he should be given some sympathy too. It's a hard job, but many of our good men are also supermen who come to our rescue in the very last minute. Humdrum, drip drop. Who would put up with me? With all of this? Only someone who loves me more than life itself. This is the predicament that thousands and thousands of people go through, adjusting to a congenital defect upon birth, an accidental injury, a devastating emotional past, a divorce, or a death. It is a major cause of stress and possibly may shorten the caregiver's life. Humdrum, drip drop. Whap! That life you knew has just ended, and it will never be the same again. Humdrum, drip drop. But you will learn to be grateful for the smallest of all things. Humdrum, drip drop. I still obtain enjoyment from quizzing others in the health field, from gaining information, and from keeping my caregivers educated above a level that is expected of them. I may hide my pill and not swallow it. I may forget to eat until you remind me to eat now that it's 3 p.m. and I'm feeling a little lightheaded. Humdrum, drip drop. That's what a good caregiver does. Gives a care about someone else. Humdrum, drip drop. I am blessed to have such caring and competent caregivers.